Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. So, as you all know, Taiwan so far has been very successful in combating the spread of the novel coronavirus, and the effort of Taiwan has also been widely recognized also in Sweden. So I thought in today's video I'm gonna talk with the Swedish representative in Taiwan. I'm a little bit nervous actually, and see what he thinks are some of the things that we can learn from each other. So now we're here with the representative of Sweden in Taiwan, Håkan, and I would like you first of all to introduce yourself a little bit and talk a little bit about your role here in Taiwan.
Okay, so my name is Håkan Jibrell, Swedish representative here in Taiwan since 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that I was the Swedish ambassador to Singapore, but now I'm here in beautiful Taiwan with my family and 2 dogs. And we live just by Elephant Mountain here, so we really enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, I will show something of the view here as well, because it's really, we have Taipei 101 really directly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Today, of course, we're going to talk about a little bit more serious topic, because the coronavirus has been spreading around the world, also in Sweden and Taiwan. Personally, how do you feel about the situation in Taiwan right now? Do you feel safe here?
Yeah, absolutely. I and my family, we feel perfectly safe here in Taiwan. Very good healthcare system, and of course all the measures that the Taiwanese government has been imposing makes us all feel very safe here.
Apart from all the measures that Taiwan has taken, have you personally, you and your family, also changed your behavior in some way?
I must say, so far not really any big things. You know, a little bit more intense washing hands, a little bit more social distance, which I think is all good. But at the same time, we're sort of outdoor people, and being outdoors is actually quite good for preventing spread of virus. So, of course, I guess everyone is a bit more cautious when it comes to bigger gatherings, if it's very crowded in an elevator and so on.
In the beginning, when I took the MRT here, you know, I was not wearing really the face mask so much, but then I see more and more people wearing the face mask in the MRT. And one time I had something in my throat. I did like this, and everyone, you know, look at me and kind of like move away. So after this experience, I started to wear the face mask in the MRT, because I feel it's kind of like a group pressure here to change your behavior in some way.
Yeah, of course. No, but I think it's all those small things, and it probably has contributed also to where Taiwan is today. That people are very much aware and try to avoid the spread of the virus.
So, as you mentioned, Taiwan so far has been doing a very good job.
Yeah, for sure.
And the number of cases here is only about 10% of what it is in Sweden. So what do you think are the things that Taiwan has done really well, and what do you think Sweden can learn from this?
I think that one very important issue in this regard is that in the previous outbreaks of viruses, Taiwan has been very close and very much affected, because it's been really in the vicinity. I think the SARS epidemic was a bad stroke towards Taiwan in that sense, and Taiwan learned a lot from that. When the SARS outbreak occurred, it was it was of course seen. It was a scary thing also in Europe, but we were not as affected as we are now. So I think that the lessons learned from Taiwan during previous outbreaks of different viruses actually has put Taiwan in a very good position in reacting fast and taking the measures needed to actually on the early stage do this.
I think you're totally right, because my wife was around 13 or 15 years old when she's Taiwanese. During the SARS, and she knows how Taiwan was affected during that time. So when this started to happen, even she'd tell me every day, like, oh, you need to wear the mask, you need to wash your hands, even change your clothing. And I know also some Taiwanese who are married to Swedes, but they live in Sweden, and they say the same thing to their husband in Sweden, that oh, you should wear a mask, you should wash the clothing, or you should cancel your plans. But it's much easier for me here to do it, because the society is doing it. But in Sweden, if you should tell some Swedish, oh, we should not go to this marriage or this concert in the beginning of the outbreak. they had a lot of fights.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Also.
No, but I think that we should learn about that, and of course now it's also the bigger issue. What is actually now going on in Sweden? How many do we actually have infected, and will that put the whole population into some sort of immunity? And there will be a lot of research now. It probably already started, where you will look into how different countries have handled this. And my guess is that in Europe we probably thought that the spread was not going to be that big outside of then primarily China, and that China would control it, and then we would see some cases in Europe. Should European countries as a whole have acted earlier with measures? One thing that people discuss quite a lot is travel restrictions and so on, quarantine measures and so on. That's just some initial thoughts that I think many of us Swedes also see here. That Taiwan has done it so great. So what can Sweden learn from this?
So recently I get a lot of questions from Taiwanese who are living in Sweden or living in Europe, and they're writing to me and asking like, why are the Swedes not wearing a face mask, and why are the restrictions imposed by the government not as strict as in Taiwan, even though the cases are more? So I thought I also wanted to talk a little bit with Håkan, why he thinks that different countries are dealing with this in such a different way. The outbreak is getting bigger in Sweden, but still some of the measures are stricter in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. Even small things like checking temperature everywhere, washing your hands. Why do you think the measures are still stricter in Taiwan?
I think it's very, very difficult to say. Just take for instance the issue with the masks, because I think that's also interesting from a cultural perspective. If you wear a mask, regardless if it's a virus here in Asia, if you wear a mask, it's nothing strange. Nobody would react to it.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
That person probably have a cough or something, regardless of the current outbreak. So a mask is not an issue. To wear a mask in Europe, people will look at you, you must be deadly sick, or we must stay away from you. So people are not culturally used to wearing a mask. And therefore I think also that that affects the people's willingness of actually wearing masks. And then of course there is another thing ongoing now, and we will see a lot of research about that as well. How should we actually wear a mask from a purely sort of healthcare perspective? Which kinds of masks do actually help? I read somewhere if you have a big beard, it's more or less pointless of wearing a mask.
I find because my nose is, especially compared to my Taiwanese, a little bit big, and also I have the glasses, so I find if I put them back and I put the mask very high, then I can still wear it. But there's a lot of practical,
exactly.
strictly practical issues.
No, so I think we will see how that develops, and looking at the advice from Taiwan's side is that it actually stated that you can actually wear a mask, absolutely, but it should be prioritized for those who have symptoms, who are visiting people in a risk group and so on, and at the healthcare institutions. And in that regard, it's not so far from the view in Sweden. If you enter areas or if you have symptoms, then of course you should act differently.
Do you think the strategy, of course Sweden and Taiwan are at different places now in the outbreak, but do you think also that the strategy from Sweden and Taiwan has been different, or is different?
Just looking upon the different measures when it comes to travel restrictions and so on, obviously Taiwan banned travelers from China very early on, and our restrictions were quite limited to Wuhan and the Hubei region. So let's see eventually what was it that brought the outbreak to Sweden. Was it the openness of borders, or was it that a lot of Swedes went for sports break in the Alps of Europe, where there obviously was some outbreak?
Is there any exchange of information or material? Like, for example, in Taiwan now they produce a lot of face masks and this kind of thing. Is there any exchange between Sweden and Taiwan of either information or material?
First of all, I couldn't tell all, because it might be some researcher or company who is in contact, of course. So on.
Yeah.
But I must say, my job is also very much to describe back home to what is going on here. Are there things we can learn from the behavior of how Taiwan have dealt with it? So these reports, I know, have been very much appreciated back home to get their understanding. And of course, any government will always look to those countries who have been successful in fighting the virus. But I would also like to stress the fact that Sweden is part of the European Union. If we were to source masks from Taiwan only to Sweden, when the need actually might be bigger somewhere else in Europe, I think that we have to be very clear that, you know, we're part of one team, and we should work together in supporting and helping out all of us. It's a big lack of protective equipment generally in, I would say, not only Sweden but the whole of Europe, and that is something that, of course, from a European perspective, we try to work closely with Taiwanese authorities to see if we can work things out together.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your very packed schedule.
Well, thank you. Also, always a pleasure.
Yeah, and I will put also some links below this video, so if you guys want to check out the work of the Swedish representative office in Taiwan. Thank you so much for watching.
Well,
see you all next time.
See you. All the best. Bye.
It was really nice to talk a little bit with Håkan and Vrel, and after our discussion, I wrote down the 4 things that I think Sweden can learn from Taiwan, and this is based, of course, on my understanding of our discussion and also of the situation in Taiwan. Taiwan banned travelers from infected areas very, very early. Already on the 31st December of 2019, they started to specially inspect travelers from Wuhan, and from January 20th, restrictions were already in place. Taiwan has a very high level of healthcare that is available for everyone, and the population of Taiwan is also very compliant with wearing face masks, even though which mask we should wear and how we should wear them is still something that is being researched. Taiwan has imposed 14 days of quarantine for everyone arriving to the country, also Taiwanese who have been abroad, and if you do not follow this quarantine, you will get a very heavy fine, and so far around $3 million Taiwanese dollars of fines has been issued for this reason. Taiwan has also imposed a lot of small measures to deal with the coronavirus outbreak. For example, every time or almost every time you go to a restaurant or bank or an official building, they will check if you have a fever, and you will also be offered to wash your hands there. And it's really interesting because on my way to the representative office, actually they checked my fever in the entrance, and I had to wash my hands 2 times, one time on the first floor and also before entering the Swedish representative office in Taiwan. I would also like to add a number 5, even though this was not directly discussed in today's video, and that is that Taiwan has been extremely fast in ramping up the production of hospital material, like for example face masks, and for this reason it feels that Taiwan now is very prepared to deal with this outbreak. Do you agree with me that these are some of the main things that Sweden and Europe can learn from Taiwan for this outbreak and also for future outbreaks? Please leave a comment below. I hope that the situation in Sweden and Europe can get better very fast and that we can continue to learn from each other. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.